tooth or 8. Let me tell you straight, if you're struggling with money, it's not always because you don't earn enough. Most of the time, it's because of the habits that are quietly draining your wealth before it even has a chance to grow. And here's the kicker. These habits don't feel dangerous while you're doing them. They feel normal, even comfortable, because everyone around you is doing the same thing. But if you don't break out of them, you'll wake up 10, 20 years from now wondering why you worked so hard and still ended up broke. So let's go through the money habits that are keeping you poor. The first one is lifestyle creep. Every time you get a raise, every time you start earning more, you upgrade your life, new clothes, better car, bigger place. On the surface, it feels like progress, but it's actually a trap. 8. You're just locking yourself into higher expenses. Instead of letting your income create wealth, you're letting it create new bills. That's why so many people earn more than ever before, but still live paycheck to paycheck. Wealth doesn't come from how much you make. It comes from how much you keep. 8. Next, financing things you shouldn't. If you're taking out credit for a phone, a sofa, or a weekend holiday, you've already lost the game. Debt should be a tool for investing in things that grow your value. Education, business, maybe property. But borrowing for luxuries. That's handing over your future earnings for something that starts losing value the second you buy it. Those buy now, pay later. Schemes aren't convenience. They're traps designed to keep you chained. Another habit is treating saving like an afterthought. Most people say, I'll save whatever's left at the end of the month. And do you know how much is left? Nothing. Because life has a way of filling the gaps. If you don't save first, you don't save at all. Wealthy people flip the script. They pay themselves first, then live on what's left. That's how you build wealth, by making saving a priority, not an accident. Let's talk about appearances, because this one ruins more people than they realize. You're buying to look rich instead of actually getting rich. The designer clothes, the latest phone, the flashy car, it's all about image. The problem is image doesn't compound, assets do. The rich don't care about impressing people in the short term because they're playing for freedom in the long term. Meanwhile, you're busy wasting money on things that lose value while they're stacking assets that grow. Looking rich is the fastest way to stay broke. And finally, short-term thinking. This is the silent killer. You want results now, pleasure now, fun now. That's why you choose nights out over investments, quick gadgets over savings, instant gratification over patience. But wealth is built slowly. It's boring, repetitive, disciplined. Every time you trade long-term growth for short-term pleasure. 8, you're feeding the cycle that keeps you broke. The people who win financially aren't always the smartest, but they're the ones who can delay gratification and think 5, 10, 20 years ahead. The truth is, none of these habits are hard to spot. You already know them deep down. The question is, are you willing to change them? Because if you keep doing what you've always done, 8, you'll keep getting what you've always got. The habits that keep you poor are comfortable, but they're costing you your future. Break them. And you open the door to freedom, keep them, and you stay stuck. The choice, as always, is yours. Lifestyle creep is one of the sneakiest habits that keeps people poor because it doesn't feel reckless, it feels deserved. You work hard, you put in extra hours, maybe you get a raise or a promotion, and the first thought that hits you is, finally, I can upgrade my life. You start spending more, buying nicer things, moving into a bigger place, driving a newer car. On the surface, it feels like progress, a reward for your effort. But underneath, it's a trap that quietly strangles your ability to build wealth. Instead of your higher income giving you freedom, it chains you to even higher expenses, leaving you just as stressed as before, sometimes even more so. The problem with lifestyle creep is that it doesn't happen in one big leap. It happens in tiny, almost invisible steps. You tell yourself, I can afford this now, and that justification becomes a habit. Maybe you go from making coffee at home to buying it every morning. Maybe you swap your perfectly reliable car for a shiny new one on finance. Maybe you start upgrading your wardrobe because you think success should look a certain way. Each step feels small, almost harmless, but stacked together, they eat up every bit of extra money you thought you were earning. Before long, your new income level feels no different from your old one, except now you've got bigger bills to stress about. Another dangerous part of lifestyle creep is how it feeds off comparison. You see your friends, your co-workers, or people online living a certain way, and you feel the pressure to keep up. When they buy a bigger house, you start wondering if it's time for you to upgrade. When they show off the latest phone, suddenly yours looks outdated. The problem is you're comparing yourself to people who may be drowning in debt just to maintain that image. 8. Lifestyle creep tricks you into believing you're falling behind if you don't constantly upgrade, when in reality, the people who stay modest and disciplined are the ones getting ahead. Here's the hard truth. If every time your income rises, your spending rises with it. 8.2. The 48. You'll never build wealth. It doesn't matter if you double your salary or triple it. Lifestyle creep will always keep you broke because you're running on a treadmill. The scenery changes, the bills get bigger, the car looks nicer, but you're not actually moving forward financially. 8. The people who break out of this cycle are the ones who resist the urge to inflate their lifestyle. They let their income grow, but they keep their expenses steady. And that gap in between is where wealth is built. When you fight lifestyle creep, you create breathing room. That extra money can go into paying off debt, building savings or investing for your future. Instead of sinking it into fleeting luxuries, you're turning it into something that compounds, something that gives you options down the road. And the beautiful part is you don't have to live miserably to do this. You just have to be intentional. Choose the upgrades that genuinely improve your quality of life and ignore the ones that are just about appearances. Drive a car that gets you where you need to go instead of one that impresses strangers. Live in a home that meets your needs instead of one that burdens you with unnecessary space and bills. Enjoy the occasional luxury, but on your terms. 48. Not because lifestyle creep pushed you into it. The discipline to resist lifestyle creep isn't easy because it goes against the message society constantly sells you. Advertisements tell you you're incomplete without the upgrade. Social media shows you a highlight reel of people spending recklessly. Even your own mind whispers that you deserve it after all your hard work. But if you step back and think about what you truly want, freedom, security, peace of mind, you'll realize that no temporary luxury is worth the cost of being trapped financially. True wealth isn't about how much you can show off today. It's about how much control you have tomorrow. Financing things that should be paid in cash is one of the quickest ways to stay broke because it tricks you into believing you can afford something when, in reality, you're just renting it with interest attached. The culture of easy credit has made it normal to finance everything: furniture, electronics, phones, vacations, even small household items. Companies love offering 100% interest for 12 months or easy monthly installments because they know most people won't pay it off in time, and when they don't, the interest kicks in and suddenly that 100,000 item costs 1,500 or more. What should have been a straightforward purchase turns into a long-term financial drain, and by the time you're done paying, the item is either outdated, broken, or replaced by the next thing you feel pressured to finance again. The problem with financing everyday items is that it normalizes living beyond your means. If you can't buy a television, a phone, or a sofa with cash, 8, that's a clear sign you shouldn't be buying it at all. Yet the credit system makes it feel like you can afford anything as long as you can cover the monthly payment. That mindset is dangerous because it doesn't factor in emergencies, job loss, or unexpected expenses. What looks like a small, manageable monthly bill piles up when you add multiple financed items together. Suddenly, you're juggling half a dozen payments every month, all eating away at your income, leaving nothing left for savings or investing. This habit also strips you of financial freedom because debt is a form of control. When you owe money on financed items, you're working not for yourself but for the lender. Your choices get restricted because a portion of your income is already spoken for before you even see it. 8. You may want to take a risk, start a business, or invest in something that could change your life, but you can't because you're locked into paying off things that have long since lost their shine. Financing things that depreciate is especially damaging. A car loses value the second you drive it off the lot. A phone is outdated within a year or two, and furniture rarely holds its worth. 8. Yet people finance these items and end up paying for them long after they've lost value, trapping themselves in a cycle where their money constantly goes backward instead of forward. Another hidden danger is how financing distorts your perception of cost. When you look at something and think, it's only $30 a month, you stop thinking about the actual price. $30 doesn't sound like much, but over 3 years is over $1,000. And if there's interest, it's even more. 8. Multiply that by several financed purchases and you're giving away thousands of dollars every year just to borrow money for things you could have saved for and bought outright. The truth is, companies don't push financing because it helps you. They push it because it makes them rich at your expense. Breaking this habit starts with a simple rule. 48. If you can't pay cash, you can't afford it. That doesn't mean you can't ever buy nice things. It just means you have to plan for them instead of rushing into debt. 8. Saving up and paying cash not only keeps you out of financial traps, but it also makes you value the purchase more. There's pride in knowing you bought something outright without strings attached. It also forces you to prioritize, asking yourself, do I really need this? Or am I just caught up in the urge to have it now? Often, 8, you'll find the desire passes and you're glad you didn't finance something unnecessary. The discipline to avoid financing everyday items is one of the key differences between people who stay broke and people who build wealth. Those who build wealth understand that debt should be reserved for strategic investments, not for things that lose value. Financing a house that can appreciate is different from financing a phone that'll be outdated in 18 months. Every time you resist the urge to finance and choose to save instead, you're building a stronger foundation for your future. Financing traps people in the present, while paying cash gives you power in the future. Financing things that should be paid in cash is one of the most common money traps that keeps people stuck in a cycle of financial struggle because it turns everyday purchases into long-term burdens. Instead of saving up and buying something outright, people convince themselves that financing is easier, more convenient, or even smarter. Companies advertise easy monthly payments or zero down or interest-free financing for 12 months, and it sounds harmless. But what they don't tell you is that this convenience comes at a steep cost. By financing items that should have been cash purchases, you end up paying far more than the item's actual value, and you train yourself to live perpetually in debt. That new phone, TV, or couch ends up costing you not just money, but also freedom. The real danger of financing lies in how it distorts your perception of affordability. When you look at a purchase in terms of its full price, you might hesitate. A 1/500 television may feel like a luxury you should think twice about. But when the store breaks it down into only $4 a month, suddenly it feels cheap, manageable, and within reach. That psychological trick is intentional. It makes you ignore the total cost and focus only on the short-term comfort of small payments. What's even worse is that most people don't stop at one finance purchase. They stack multiple ones together. A phone, a sofa, a laptop, a new mattress, all with small monthly payments suddenly add up to hundreds of dollars each month, draining your income before you even realize it. The harsh reality is that most of the things people finance are depreciating assets, meaning they lose value the second you buy them. A car, for example, drops in value as soon as you drive it off the lot. Phones, laptops, and gadgets are outdated within a couple of years, yet people are still paying them off long after their worth has plummeted. Furniture and appliances wear down. Vacations are over in a week, yet the bills stick around month after month. Financing depreciating items is like borrowing from your future self to pay for something your future self won't even care about anymore. 48. It's a guaranteed way to stay poor because you're always paying for the past instead of building for the future. Another overlooked problem is how financing chips away at your financial freedom. When your income is tied up in monthly payments, you lose flexibility. Maybe you want to take a new opportunity, invest in something promising, or save for a goal, but you can't because you're locked into commitments you made months or years ago. Debt doesn't just cost you money, it costs you options. You end up working for your bills instead of for your dreams. This is how people end up feeling stuck in jobs they hate. 8. Trapped by financial obligations they voluntarily signed up for when they chose financing over patience. It's also important to realize how financing feeds into a cycle of instant gratification. Instead of learning discipline and the power of delayed rewards, it teaches you to get what you want now and worry about the payments later. That mindset spreads into other areas of your life. If you're used to financing small things, it becomes easy to justify financing bigger things: cars, luxury items, even vacations. Before you know it, debt becomes a normal part of life, and saving money feels impossible. What should have been a tool for emergencies or major purchases becomes a lifestyle of dependency on borrowed money. The way out of this trap is simple, but requires discipline. If you can't pay cash, you can't afford it. That doesn't mean you can't ever buy the things you want. It just means you should build the habit of saving first, then spending. When you save up for something and pay in cash, you not only avoid interest and fees, 8, but you also appreciate the purchase more. You know you earned it, you planned for it, and you bought it without strings attached. That sense of ownership and control is far more rewarding than the false feeling of affordability that financing gives you. Financing should be reserved for strategic investments like buying a home or starting a business, things that can increase in value or generate income over time. Using it for everyday items that lose value is simply financial self-sabotage. The moment you stop financing things that should be paid in cash is the moment you start breaking free from one of the biggest habits keeping you poor. Treating saving like an afterthought is one of the most damaging financial habits because it places your future at the mercy of whatever is left over after you've already spent. 8. Too many people operate under the mindset that saving is optional, something you do if there happens to be extra money at the end of the month. The problem with that approach is that there is almost never extra money. Lifestyle expenses, unexpected bills, and impulsive purchases always find a way to consume every dollar. When saving isn't treated as a priority, it slips through the cracks, and before you know it, years have passed with little to show for all the money you've earned. This habit quietly keeps people broke because without savings, they're constantly vulnerable to debt, emergencies, and financial stress. The biggest issue with treating saving as an afterthought is that it robs you of the chance to build momentum. Savings is not just about stashing cash away. It's about creating a buffer that gives you security and a foundation to grow wealth. When you make saving a priority, you start compounding benefits over time. Even small amounts, when saved consistently, can grow into significant sums through the power of interest and disciplined habits. But when saving is only whatever's left, you never build that consistency. You're essentially telling your future self, you only get scraps while your present self gets everything, that's not how wealth is built, and it's not how financial freedom is achieved. Another danger of this habit is how it forces people into dependency on credit. Without savings, any emergency, whether it's a car repair, medical bill, or job loss, immediately pushes you into debt. Instead of pulling from your own reserves, you're borrowing from banks or lenders, and that debt comes with interest, which makes the problem worse. Treating saving like an afterthought isn't just lazy, it's risky. It leaves you exposed to financial storms with no umbrella, guaranteeing that even small setbacks turn into long-term struggles. People often wonder why they feel stuck in cycles of debt. And the truth is, it often comes down to not having prioritized saving when they had the chance. What makes this habit so damaging is also how easy it is to rationalize. People say, "Oh, I'll start saving when I make more money." But when that raise comes, lifestyle creep kicks in and expenses rise to match the new income. Others say, "Oh, I'll save once my debt is gone." But without any savings, they end up relying on more debt to handle emergencies, keeping the cycle alive. The truth is, saving has to start now, even if it's small, because the habit matters more than the amount. Waiting for the perfect time to save is just an excuse that ensures you never actually start. Changing this habit requires a complete shift in mindset. 8. Saving cannot be something you do at the end of the month. It has to be something you do at the beginning. You have to pay yourself first, just like you pay your rent, your utilities, or your bills. Treating savings as a non-negotiable expense ensures it happens no matter what. This approach flips the script. Instead of hoping there's money left to save, you guarantee that saving happens before anything else. The rest of your spending then adjusts around it, forcing you to live within your means. The beauty of prioritizing savings is that it builds confidence and control. Knowing that you have money set aside makes you less anxious about unexpected expenses. It gives you room to take risks, to invest, or to pursue opportunities you might otherwise shy away from. More importantly, it creates a path toward freedom. Every dollar saved isn't just money in the bank. It's proof that you're thinking ahead, that you're valuing your future as much as your present. Over time, those small, consistent savings build into wealth, and that wealth is what separates people who stay stressed and stuck from those who live with peace of mind. Chasing appearances over assets is one of the most crippling habits that silently drains wealth and keeps people stuck in financial insecurity, because it creates the illusion of success while leaving nothing solid underneath. 2, many people measure their progress in life by how flashy they look rather than what they actually own. They want the newest car, the trendiest clothes, the most expensive phone, or the house that makes others nod in approval. On the outside, it paints a picture of prosperity, but behind the curtain, there's debt, stress, and a lack of real financial foundation. Chasing appearances is a dangerous game because it prioritizes temporary validation over long-term security. And at the end of the day, no amount of surface level status can replace the peace that comes from true ownership and financial stability. The root of this problem often comes from comparison. Social media, advertisements, and even peer groups constantly bombard people with images of luxury and status symbols. When you see someone driving a luxury car or posting vacation pictures, it triggers the urge to keep up, even if you can't afford it. Instead of asking, how did they build the wealth to get that? Most people ask, how can I get that now? And the quickest answer is debt. Credit cards, loans, and financing make it easy to look wealthy in the short term, but the cost is steep. You end up owning liabilities that drain your income instead of assets that grow it. The result is a lifestyle that looks polished on the outside, but is hollow at its core. The problem with chasing appearances is that appearances don't pay bills. They don't generate income, and they don't compound over time. Assets, on the other hand, are what build freedom. Real wealth is built on things like investments, 8, savings, property, and businesses, things that put money back into your pocket instead of taking it out. But because assets don't always look flashy, people undervalue them. No one can see your investment account or your savings balance when you walk into a room. But those are the things that actually determine whether you're wealthy or just pretending to be. When you chase appearances, you're trading real progress for applause, and applause doesn't pay for retirement, emergencies, or freedom. Another hidden cost of appearances is the constant pressure it creates. When your self-worth is tied to how others perceive you, you end up living in a cycle of upgrades. The moment the neighbors buy something new, you feel the need to match or outdo them. When trends shift, you feel the pull to keep up, even if it means sinking deeper into debt. This pressure steals your peace of mind and keeps you working harder just to maintain the illusion. Instead of your money working for you, you're working for your image, enslaved by the opinions of people who don't pay your bills or secure your future. Focusing on assets instead of appearances requires discipline and humility. It means driving the car you can afford instead of the one that impresses strangers. It means choosing to invest in your education, a business, or stocks rather than blowing money on the latest gadgets. It means understanding that delayed gratification, living a little below your means today, gives you the ability to live far above your means tomorrow. Real wealth is quiet, steady, and patient. It doesn't shout, it doesn't need validation, and it doesn't collapse when the next payment is due. The truth is, the people who chase appearances often end up broke, while the people who chase assets quietly build lives of abundance. Assets don't just create wealth, they create freedom, security, and options. They ensure that when you decide to upgrade your lifestyle, you do it from a place of strength, not desperation. Appearances might win attention